though I've been aware of Chris Chan for a few years now. And at this point, I think I got a gist of everything there is to know about this odd person. As you can see, I made tons of videos on them in the comic, and I might actually have to make a third video of that one too. So I didn't need to watch the comprehensive documentary of Chris Chan. Admittedly, I'm not a fan of the concept. I think it is best to keep things to a half hour to an hour at most. But I can't see why people are attached to it. However, I did give it a chance, and I was right. I knew about 95% of the stuff in it. I really shouldn't be bragging about this, although there are some details I didn't know. And one of them showed up very early on. A Comprehensive History Part 4 shows a very interesting detail. Chris Chan gained some attention for the first time, with some fan art involving another Sonic Pikachu Hybrid.
The outlandishness of his situation motivated people to draw inappropriate fan art, featuring Chris and his Sonichu characters. On November 3rd, in a thread on 4chan, a user named Evan Christopher George was encouraged to send Chris an email showcasing a small selection of fan art. The included images were Chris hosting girlfriend auditions with "No Darkies" written on his desk, and Chris and Sonic Thorndyke, a character conceived by one BlazeSonic, having a stare down.
But wait, who actually is that? In this chapter, we're going to take a look at the Sonichu before Sonichu. Deviantart user BlazeSonic, who was 19 at the time, was inspired to make a crossover comic of his own fan character, that being Sonic Thorndyke. The character not only combines two separate characters, but four, having a mix of Sonic and Pikachu, but keeping the color blue dominant, which gives them a very similar look to Chris Chan Sonichu. But not only that, but the clothes are also based off of Sora from Kingdom Hearts, Keyblade and all. Isn't that ironic? Okay, I haven't played Neptunia. It's one of those anime girl JRPGs, and thank goodness Chris Chan never found out about Kingdom Hearts. Now he's also based on Chris Thorndyke, a character from Sonic X that a lot of people like to compare to Sora, because they look similar. Now, remember, this was made before Chris Chan was relevant to the internet, and it's not really clear on why he's a Sonichu. I believe the consensus is that he's just a fan character resembling the author. By the way, someone edited a dick to this character sheet, so I had to crop it off. The Sonic Thorndyke character has been used by BlazeSonic for many of his webcomics. The most readily available is Sonic Universal Heroes. First panel is in space, where the text talks of three great heroes forming together to fight off a common enemy, which surprisingly isn't why Chris Thorndyke is, well, three different characters. The opening page is based a lot on Kingdom Hearts, with Kairi and Riku having their own little Sonichus. And if the Sonichu comparisons were bad enough, the girl looks like Amy Rose, and the rival character looks like Shadow. A very common dynamic in the Sonichu comic. We cut to other different worlds, one being Megaville, with a white Powerpuff Girl who really hates them for some reason, and a whole bunch of other characters in the Disney castle, such as a blonde kid named Alex who is hanging out with other Disney characters, like Stitch, Jack Sparrow, and a girl who may or may not be Ariel. I should know that the Alex character is made by one of BlazeSonic's friends, Jedi Mickey, and is also part of a separate fanfic. So, it appears that the opening is talking about this Disney world, the Megaville, which is probably the Bleed Man world, and the world comprised mostly of Sonichus. There are only a few pages in the comic setup, usually showing characters from the different worlds having a good day, only for it to be ruined. Not by Heartless, but these Wonder Bread things. Oh my god, this comic's aging poorly by the page. And that's it. So, yeah, there's not a lot about this comic. And it's been unfinished for quite some time now. And despite the cover saying there's at least 1 to 3 chapters, it clearly did not go that far. The artwork is kinda meh. I mean, it's not really that terrible. I mean, it's passable, I guess. I do think it looks a lot better than, say, Lightbringer. I also think it looks way better than Sonichu, but that's not really saying much. I'd give it a C-. It's sloppy, but there's room for improvement. At first, you might think the crossover stuff was Kingdom Hearts related, but in actuality, it's based on an entirely separate webcomic called Powerpuff Girl Doujinshi. Don't panic, Doujinshi actually means fan comic. I think to understand what Sonic Hearts could have been like, is to look a little bit at Powerpuff Girl Doujinshi. Powerpuff Girl Doujinshi was a very popular webcomic in the early 2000s, say 2004, created by Bleedman and his friends BR and Seiruga, where it would star the Powerpuff Girls in a more anime-like style that crosses over with many Cartoon Network properties, most notably being Dexter's Laboratory, where he plays a supporting role. but it doesn't limit itself, as it would bring in tons of Nickelodeon characters as well, with many of them being popular shows at the time. And yes, that also includes Invader Zim. Though, to be fair, it's not surprising for a Kingdom Hearts fanfic to do this. The art itself is actually pretty good, and it's no wonder this comic gained some infamy. Anyways, another element borrowed from Powerpuff Girl Doujinshi is the character Belle, which seems to be another Powerpuff Girl copycat character using similar powers and design from the girls, which is a trope the original show used a lot, so I can't really blame them at this point. She is technically a villain, although not really because she's given a lot more sympathy. Now, I do believe that BlazeSonic might have asked permission, I'm not really sure, kind of vague. Though I get an impression that Bleedman is less upset about that, and more upset about the Fusion Fall Online game that came out years later. I mean, I know it was a coincidence, but come on, look at it. I should also note that the Doujinshi can get pretty dark at times. Oh, by the way, they killed Dee Dee. So, why am I talking about this? Well, you see, these comics take a lot of inspiration from Powerpuff Girl Doujinshi a lot. From the crossover concept to many of the characterizations, and even the main characters themselves. And they might even have their character traits in that comic too. So yes, the Sonichu comic is even less original than you'd think, because not only did it fuse 4 existing characters to one, it was also a fanfic of a fanfic. Now, even though I may have given it some compliments, that's not what the internet thinks, as he was trolled relentlessly by 4chan and Ebon's World. Remember that? I don't think you do. So, you know how I said there was multiple comics? You see, during BlazeSonic's short time on the internet, he would constantly get his Deviantart account hacked. As such, Universal Heroes would just be one of many alliterations of the characters, which would lead to another lost media mystery of what happened to the original Sonic Thorndyke comic, that being Sonic Hearts, the Hidden Memories. Now, very little about Sonic Hearts is saved, with literally only 3 pages available, including the cover shown throughout the video. The 2 pages are Sonic Thorndyke interacting with Buttercup and Dexter, with Sonic Thorndyke showing off his unfortunate looking Sonic form, as well as using ninja powers from Naruto. There is no real record of how long this comic was. Even the images that were saved had that Ebon's World tag blocking the potential page number. This happened because someone hacked his account and deleted everything, so there wasn't enough salvaged. The comic's cover also implies more stuff from Powerpuff Girl Doujinshi was going to be used. Even Buttercup and Dexter are designed in a way that's more closely to Doujinshi than the official designs. And it also seems very unlikely that the lore from the Sonic Universe comic was going to be in it. So Riku Blakeshoe and Kairi Roseshoe were probably not in the original. It was also said that Cell from Dragon Ball Z was also somewhat of an antagonist, and it was also described to be short-lived, only getting a few pages in, so it might have been less than 1 issue. I searched high and low on the Wayback Machine for the old Deviantart comics, and so far, there's nothing on it. Although the count as Deviantart on the Wayback Machine only has the aftermath of the raid recorded. Old archives from 4chan from 2008-ish were also unreliable. While there were many old posts regarding people like him, like Chase the Hedgehog, I actually thought that was a low effort troll. I guess I was savvy wrong on that one, jeez. There's also a lot of old posts from people who were shocked about Chris-chan. There doesn't seem to be any storytime posts of this comic, and I don't think it would matter because the archives have no pictures. And it's like that with the Deviantart archives too, so I'm probably screwed even if I did find the right page. The most common thing that would be said would be other people posting the Dramatica page. And by the way, that page is just as much of a relic because it hasn't been edited in a decade, with the information being exactly the same, barring a few details. So yes, it would appear to me that the original Sonic Hearts comic is indeed lost media, and no one really cares. But I do. I want to see Sonic Thorndyke and Naruto fight Cell. What are the crazy moments present here? And why is Sonic Thorndyke a Sonichu in the first place? People also keep saying he's a terrible writer, which, I mean, he probably is, but like, I want to see it, you know? What was he cooking? I want to know. Like, I want to see what this trash fire was like. Now we have to imagine the cringe. Though I get the impression the truth is a lot more boring. So to recap, BlazeSonic's first comic is Sonic Hearts, which is lost media. BlazeSonic's second comic, Sonic Universal Heroes, the one early in the video, is not finished, which is a ripoff of Kingdom Hearts 1. with Sonichus based on the actual characters, and it even has what appears to be a Deviantart Sonichu. The Doujinshi aspect seems to be present, but somewhat downplayed, but there are additional ideas that are archived, which would have involved the main villains actually being based on Anonymous. Well, isn't that a way to paint a target on you? Other ideas of this concept includes having the troll characters being green goblin-like creatures wearing black cloaks and masks, where they'll be destroyed when removed. Well, I guess those Organization 13 Coast and Tailskid's trolls aged really well. He might have also included Fortran Administrator at the time, Christopher Poole, into the story in some way, shape, or form. Though rather not if he's Zane or Sonichu is yet to be confirmed. That sounds stupid, but the whole thing is. Now that being said, I actually started to question if the whole Sonichu thing was a coincidence or not. Because, you know, they both got trolled. Though Chris was never credited. Now they could be based on Chris, but then again, BlazeSonic did create Sonichus too, so it's kind of like a paradox. I don't even know what the fuck I'm doing. Looking through the archives shows other plans for Sonic Universe, such as involving time travel of some kind, and other characters he had interest in using, like other Bleed Man characters. Ben 10, Danny Phantom, Felix the Cat, okay. Jaden? What the hell is Jaden gonna do? And by this point, it just feels like those Pooh crossover movies. I know My Little Pony didn't exist yet, but I believe there's someone you forgot to invite. I get an impression these ideas were in mind when creating the original Sonic Hearts 2. I mean, it's all the same comic anyways. Just like Sonichu, Sonic Hearts could be the first of many things, such as being the first Sonichu, with some ideas that are similar to Tailskid's Trolls and Pooh Adventures, although those ideas weren't properly drawn anyways, so. But that is the legacy of Sonic Hearts, as the comic is drowned away from the internet. After a while, BlazeSonic was not heard from again on Deviantart. I find this story rather interesting, because Sonichu was such a stupid design, but it's so iconic within the internet. I mean, it's a freaking bootleg of ideas from a strange person, so seeing someone else with a similar idea existing before that is just crazy to me. Now, of course, Sonichu came first. That's been documented to death. It's just that, technically, BlazeSonic was well known first, although he is absolutely forgotten. Now, there's been a few other fanfics and original works he made afterwards, but very little of it was archived, because by this point, no one really cares. Now, I do apologize, this is all disappointing, because there's so many questions. Like, what is the series actually like? How edgy was it gonna be? Maybe it is just a simple comic, hated for simply existing. Because I'm looking past the Sonichu aspect, when that was the whole reason in the first place. Now, truth be told, I don't really care that much about recolors, as long as they don't steal other people's fan art. You know, now if they're selling or profiting some kind of way, then yeah, I could see the issue. But I guess it did to a lot of other people. Though, at a time, I do think it's more of an excuse. Ha! I don't think you have any friends, and trust us, we know who we can go against. We survived a war with Scientology. We could take an idiot like you.
I am SpongeBob, destroyer of evil!
Take it easy, it's just a drawing.
In the end of the day, it's stupid DeviantArt stuff. And even if he did what they asked of him, it would still just be stupid DeviantArt stuff. Though I do think the idea of fusing multiple characters to be very odd. Like, why is Sonic Thorndyke a Sonichu? I can see the Kingdom Hearts aspect to it, but why Sonic and Pikachu specifically? Like, why couldn't he be a Pikachu or a Hedgehog? I'm guessing it's the same reasoning for Christian too. They just both really like these two franchises. Now, the big part of the Sonichu story was because of Christian pouring their own life into it, to the point where the Sonichu stuff is quite secondary. BlazeSonic himself isn't anywhere like that. Now sure, he may not be the most original, and he probably is one of those pretentious DeviantArt users, but he seems like a normal person for the most part. Nothing too out of the ordinary, at least to DeviantArt standards. BlazeSonic seems like he just wanted to make a fanfic of his favorite properties, and the people on the internet that inspired him. Sure, he has done some boneheaded stuff, like making Anonymous the main villain, though this was very early on in internet history. It's also not like he had any false hope of it getting published, at least as far as I could see. And it still pales in comparison to everything else Christian has done. Whereas Sonichu itself was a huge mess, talking about Christian's own messy life. So they're a lot more different than you think. It also helps that he's also very young. He was only 19 when this stuff was made. So I guess in a way, he got lucky. It is way better than being systematically stalked with wicked pages of every action you do with false promises of love and blackmail that only culminate into an incestual relationship with your elderly mother. But yeah, I'm sure deleting your Deviantart is a slap on the wrist. I do believe he's still out there, but with art that probably looks a lot more decent. So maybe Tumblr or Twitter may have given him a second chance. And good luck to him wherever he is. So, that was Sonic Zeros. Some of them were fiction, others were strangers in fiction. I wish I could show more, but that's actually all the stuff I could find. So, on that note, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want, you can see some of my other content. Have a nice day, and I hope to see you soon.